right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a very special Lifeline edition of the BCP. Right now, I'm super excited for my next guest, a personal friend of mine, mentor, and overall lifeline through my trials and tribulations. You know, as we said on the podcast, we always have pop culture, we always have entertainment guests, local bands, celebrities, whatever it may be. Now things are getting very real. We want to address things head on. So I am so happy right now to be joined by the pastor at St. Andrew's Methodist in Spring Lake, New Jersey. Again, a good friend and mentor, my good buddy, Pastor Eusun Kim. What's up, Reverend Kim? How are you?
Oh, good. Thank you, Robbie, and thank you for the opportunity to be on your show. My pleasure, and, everyone's looking for an opportunity to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
But in ministry, I always take a pastoral role. So it's funny. It's always more interesting for me to listen to other people, but I'd be glad to share some of my crazy life where God may be leading me through these days and whatnot, you know?
Nah, man, but I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you. Like, you've always been there for me through my ups and downs in life. You know, we've had some nice meals together, some nice conversations. So the idea kind of behind this is that we can kind of share some of this with everybody else who's kind of going through these crazy times. You know, some people are screaming end of days. Some people are saying this too shall pass. There's like a huge, I don't know, just like a huge amount of confusion going on in all this. I guess first and foremost, how are you and your family doing? How's everyone doing over there?
We're hanging tight. We're doing good. It feels like, on the silver lining with all that is that we're surrounded with each other all the time. And I think that's like an extended holiday almost. So I enjoy being with my girls.
Aww.
And everyone's doing their own thing, and we're coming together. So I actually appreciate what that means and the time it's allotting for us to be together. Everyone's working remotely. My daughter is logged in her final year as a senior in high school, Manasquan. My older daughter is working remotely. She works out of D.C. with an agency that helps battered women. And Jay, my wife, is like one of the head people up there in the New Jersey conference office. The funniest thing is to see a picture of them all with their computers facing each other with headphones on doing work.
Yeah.
But it's a blessing. And I'm so fortunate to know that for the most part, my congregants have not been directly, there's been some direct effect. We have a member who lost both his parents.
Yeah.
Which is just incredibly tragic, of course. But my actual members have been okay, as far as I know. And there's not been any needs where there's sort of a volunteer to help out, maybe with grocery shopping or anything like that. And everyone has a loved one or somebody that can help them. So we're in pretty good shape in that department, you know. So just hanging in there, hanging tight, you know.
Yeah, it's a very crazy time, but again, you know, there's a silver lining in everything for sure. Do you find a lot of people, you know, I obviously have, do you find a lot of people kind of reaching out to you or texting you or anything like that, checking in?
Yes, absolutely, which is wonderful. So, thanks to our technology, at least we can always keep in touch.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, the moment where I declared that the churches are not meeting in any social spaces, we did that relatively early, but not very early, but when everybody was starting to do that one by one. And I quickly came out with a video and posted it on our Facebook page. And I just read some scripture. It was very short. It was maybe 3 minutes long. And I'm reading directly what Jesus was saying from the Gospel of Matthew. What are you guys worried about? And as God has everything else covered, and He cares so much more for you. So why the heck are you worrying? And I was like, just saying, how can we turn our worried attitude toward worship? Which means that, turning our attention toward God, in other words, instead of our own fear. And I think that's it's easy to say than to do as things get ramped up over time. Of course, I think there's more challenges potentially that lay ahead. But I think also gives us an opportunity to lean into God more in prayer and worship and and trusting that God will lead and has always the best interest of each of us in mind.
Absolutely.
So I'm on the camp of not very fond of the interpretation, well, God's punishing everybody and the end is near. But I am also, on the other side of it, we all anticipate, anyone who's baptized a Christian anticipates Jesus, coming back and showing up again. And we welcome that with open arms, whatever that might look like. But it's hard for us to imagine God, with his big stick whacking people over the head and getting people sick and, punishing us anymore. That message is incongruent with my understanding of who Jesus is and what that really meant in terms of a big change in the way we understand God, And so that's my sense of it. So I have a lot of hope, even though it's been kind of a drag, know.
Yeah.
But I hold on to hope with that.
Absolutely, man. And in such crazy times, not everyone necessarily has faith, and, there's all different religions and beliefs and all that kind of stuff. But I think, through all of this, like I said, I've talked to first responders that are on the front lines. It's crazy to kind of see their mindset. I've talked to marriage counselors. People are quarantined together, might not be the best for marriages or certain situations, or people are already in a bad situation. Now they're kind of stuck. I've spoken to psychologists. So I think having that faith aspect is definitely very important here. I remember, and also I kind of want to talk about that sense of community. I remember, and I don't know if you remember anything like this, things you've been through, obviously in the ministry or just as a father and a husband, but the last big kind of event that kind of reminds me, not necessarily reminds me of this, but kind of takes me back to that sense of community. Obviously 9/11, I remember that day. I mean, who doesn't? And I just remember all going to the church that night, and it wasn't necessarily a service. It was just kind of like a meeting and a congregation. And, I was in high school, I think, at the time, and I remember seeing, people who I obviously grew up with and admired and respected just break down, and everyone's just very confused. Are you seeing a lot of that, or people calling to you for that sense of community? Do people kind of have a better understanding, or calmer heads right now?
Yeah, my sense is my people here at Spring Lake, and the people from all around this area, not just Spring Lake itself. We have membership. There are people who live in the Heights and Point and all different places. But they're all very level-headed people. I think what faith gives them is that extra fortified. Much of support and somewhere to lean into. So I always sense that my people, everyone has more of a very calm, logical, and also worshipful, I would even say, attitude. There might be a few people who might be like, "Oh, the end is here, the end is near."
Yeah.
But you can't help that, and you're just trying to quell some of those fears again, and to hang tight, and this is another new normal, just like 9/11. And unlike 9/11, which did ripple and affect the whole world, this is affecting everybody directly, in terms of the viral, propensity. It's unbelievable. We're almost a 2 million mark, I think. I just recently saw worldwide, and I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy, the numbers of people getting sick, and, every day it hits closer and closer to home. It affects businesses, it affects people's jobs, obviously health being the most important thing, people's families, people not necessarily even being able to say goodbye right now. It's crazy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's terrible. And, like we always say, everyone's saying wash your hands and all that good stuff, but everyone just, stay home. Everyone follow the rules, and the quicker we abide by all these rules, the quicker this passes. I'm getting a lot of "this too shall pass." I think I got a couple of those from you, and I do appreciate that, and that makes me feel better. So I want to rewind a little bit first.
Sure.
Obviously, for people who don't know you as well as I did now. I met you, obviously, mowing my grandfather's lawn over there in Spring Lake, just saying hi to you, talking about tunes, talking about music, all that good stuff, and, coming to the church here and there. So I think we had a good relationship right off the bat. And I remember at my grandfather's funeral, which you did, which was an amazing service, and thank you so much for that. We're all about to head down to the cemetery where he's going to be buried. And you come rolling out on this motorcycle, and I'm like, yes. I'm like, I like this guy already. And you're telling us about the bike, and you rode it down there, and we're checking out your bike, and it's pretty cool. So before we talk about getting into the ministry, I want to talk a little bit about, riding the bike. And I believe you're also the chaplain for, what is it, the Blue Knights of Monmouth?
That's right. The Blue Knights, Chapter 15. And it's an honor and privilege. And they're allowed one chaplain per chapter. And not every chapter has a clergyman. They might have a chaplain, but they might not have a real clergyman who's ordained. But it's incredible. Those guys are an awesome group, and really just been a privilege to be a pastoral presence. And we and our love, our shared love of motorcycling brings us together. And all they do all the time is trying to do good works for the community and raise money for other people. And always trying to help others. I mean, these guys are pretty amazing. A lot of them are retired. Quite a few are active duty, police officers, any type of law enforcement. So I'm the funny guy. I'm the Asian guy. I'm the pastor. And I ride a Jap bike. I don't ride a Harley.
Oh, okay.
I kind of stand out.
That's
kind of a joke.
That's awesome, man. And when did you start riding?
Yeah, I've always wanted to ride ever since I was a little kid. It felt like a deep-seated something that I've always wanted to do all my life, and I decided to do that right when I turned about to turn 40. Finally took the step, and my wife gave me the blessing. Like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. And I jumped right in, and I did everything backwards. So I've been riding for a little over 10 years now. A little over 10 years, 11 years. And, I did everything backwards. I actually got a bike first. I got my permit by myself, and then I took the course. You're supposed to get the course first. Yeah. And then, but I was that eager and anxious, and I was riding around like crazy. It's something that I thoroughly, it's part of my, the thing that brings life to me and gives me a different perspective on things, and just get on that bike and just get out there. So we left at 4. So I had various other friend groups that I tour with, all over the place. One guy's famous. He's a Blue Knight. His name is Igor. He runs a famous trip of up to like 20 bikes, like 40 people. Yeah. And we go all over different parts of the United States. Now he's going to other countries even. I haven't joined him on those excursions yet. Wow. A little bit too out of my price range. So it's just pretty awesome. And, so that's been it turned out that way. And actually for your grandfather's service, I thought I was running late, so I was breaking every speed log trying to get I took the bike. Yeah. And I was literally going like 75 the whole way, I think. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to be late. And I got there literally just about on time. Yeah. And that was my motivation to get there quicker.
There you go. Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. You got God on your side, so that's great. So real quick, I know we always talk about music and tunes and all that stuff, but now that we're kind of quarantined or whatever, have you got to sit down and play? I think you even said you might have had a drum set in your office. Did you get to sit down and play at all?
I got a minute to go. We need to link up and just kind of make some noise.
Yeah.
Together. But I'm so out of practice, it'd be embarrassing for me at first, because it's been literally years when I'm doing any type of ongoing music with, I like to play guitar, play the drums, and like any rock instrument, I can play a little bit, bass, But my main instrument technically is supposed to be guitar, but I have a whole little setup in my office as a mini studio to goof off. And, but music's always been, of course, part of the DNA, and I always had a proclivity toward music, and a quick ability, blessed with that ability is my mom's DNA, I think, is musical. Oh. To pick up, I can just listen to music. I can't read a lick of music. I took intro to music with my wife at Rutgers, dating back then, and I got a C, she got an A, and she doesn't play anything, Yeah. I was like, I don't understand music, but I understand it when I listen and I can play, that type of thing. Wow. That's kind of funny.
Did you say you went to Rutgers?
Yes.
I went to Rutgers too. I did not know that. I went to Rutgers too. No way.
Hey, no wonder.
Yeah, that's great.
That's special. night.
Yeah, that's right.
Night in us, man.
Yeah.
Suddenly. Sure.
Yeah, man. It was meant to be, man. And so I guess going back, when did you make the decision to go, I guess, what is it, seminary and all that? When did you make that decision to kind of go into the ministry and all that?
Yeah, it's funny, because I grew up in the life of the church. My dad is a pastor.
Oh, wow.
Started a large, growing church, served in the Methodist Church, rose up in the ranks, and actually even retired as a bishop. Was the first immigrant and the first Korean American elected as a bishop.
Wow.
He rose up, very high. But so I grew up in the life of the church. So it's funny. I wrote a paper when I was younger, like 7th grade, a vocational education class. And what are you going to be when you grow up? And I was like, I'm going to be a pastor. And I remember I got an A+ on that paper.
Wow. Okay.
I had all the information. But then as I grew up, and I became more, I'm more of a wild guy. I like to ride motorcycles. I goof off. I like hanging out with my friends, and I shoot guns. I'm one of those type of guys. Even though I'm more on the side of Christ. That's part of my DNA.
Yeah.
But so growing up in the life of the church was kind of more that kind of for me putting off. I'm like, maybe I don't. That's not where I want to go later in life. And then my brother answered the call to go into ministry, and I was like, oh, thank God. I felt like I'm off the hook, because I just felt some pressure, at least, from the family, from expectations that we could follow my dad's footsteps. But then I worked for a short time in the secular world. Right out of college, I worked at this pharmaceutical research company as a very kind of entry-level job. And at the same time, I was working weekends with a youth group. And that's when I decided, I'm like, this is really what I want to do. I'm going to focus on being with people, talking about God, and all this type of stuff. So that's what triggered me to get back and reinvigorate my call into ministry. I felt like I was called all along. But, I think I felt like I put God on call waiting. I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm just got to do some crazy stuff in my life first, and then I'll come back.
Yeah.
It turns out that way.
Yeah, I got you. But and I'll say this, obviously I appreciate what you've done for me and my family in our life. We love St. Andrews, big part of our life. We love having you there. So thank you again for everything. Now I appreciate it. And we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what role do you think kind of faith kind of plays in all this right now? Maybe even for those people who don't necessarily have faith or confidence or answers right now. They're just kind of like, what is happening? What would you say to someone that needs to find faith or connect or whatever it may be?
Yeah, no, all these type of serious crises that we face as humans is always a broad opportunity, existentially even, to address, that chasm if you don't address it spiritually through some organized religion, or just be trying to be. I know that the MO more and more is for people who try to live spiritually, which is, I think, what Jesus had in mind. Really, you're going to be non-judgmental, you're going to be forgiving, you're going to be loving, you're going to be kind, you're going to be compassionate, and live by those principles. And you're probably more closer to Jesus than not. But I think it's a wake-up call and an opportunity, I think, for at the same time. And to know that God is always has these wide open arms, looking to bring us and shelter us and guide us, into better ways of living and better ways of treating one another and understanding. That's a big part of our faith. When you look at the cross, and we just had Easter, which is a surreal thing to do, an online Easter service.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But, there's that vertical. When you look at the cross, there's a vertical and the horizontal. The vertical connects us to God, and that's our understanding of God. And the horizontal, that's our relationship to one another, how we ought to treat one another, and all these things, And the faith covers all those bases in a way that makes the most sense, I think. Just like, there's an opportunity, but also, it's not, I don't think there's a pressure on. I always feel like there's always that MO of our faith to want to share that, and they call it being evangelical, or evangelizing, or faith sharing and all this type of stuff. But, I think what it means is not to judge others that you have to believe like we do, but I think it's an opportunity to lean into that spiritual core. And I think what better place to do it than with the one that is the eternal word, the source of all that really comes from. And so that's a great opportunity for that. And you see those, it's also for the people who already are, claiming to be Christians and living by faith and all these things. It's really like a test in some weird way. I hate to say that. Yeah. But, how are we living? Are we going to act like the hoarders and run out there and hoard and look out for ourselves and not think about others? That's for me, that's what the pedal to the metal, really, of our faith. When we're in a real crisis, we're under the light, the French fry light. And now it's like, how are we going to react and respond? And you see a lot of people boldly and bravely responding in a way that's so admirable. But trying to show that color of humanity and be kind and generous and helping in all these ways, it's like that's what I feel like, and God is always there for us. And all those teachings are the things that can potentially take away those anxieties and fears and replace it with a sense of peace and calm and a sense of trusting. That's the whole point of faith, is to trust. Be able to. There will be days ahead, exactly.
Yeah, and I took a lot from that, and I like what you're saying about, I did like a little local band kind of photo shoot, social distancing thing, and my quote was kind of like, in my mind now is the time to kind of step up. We're all facing this together, and we don't want to help our families, we want to protect each other, we want to help those first responders on the front line. So even the reason I'm doing this is just like, what can I do? I provide some sort of entertainment and all that, but we need to get real. So we're doing these podcasts, having you on. I've had some friends that are making masks, which is amazing. I've had masks sent out to some friends, my bass player and my buddy and my aunt, who are working in the hospitals every day and kind of giving me little updates. It's very crazy right now. So I do appreciate you taking the time to come on and be part of this, baby steps in healing that's going on right now. Real quick, tell us a little bit about St. Andrew's and how people could not necessarily get in touch with you, but get in touch with the church and reach out.
No, absolutely. And people can get in touch with me. I always feel like the ministry is about keeping it real, and we are representing that flesh and blood of our faith. It's not like this high place where I'm like, I don't like that the chasm that we've created in religion, the hierarchy with the, even the title reverend. I'm not one to be revered. I like the title pastor better for that reason, but. Everyone knows, you put Rev in front of the title and it has carry some clout. Yeah. But there's a sense to divide us, not bring us closer. So I'm always looking for opportunities to connect with people, to find ways to be helpful and to share on this journey together. We're all in this together. That's just life in general, but more than ever, really. Now we're all in this together. And how do we get out of this together and and find it? And recreate our future together. So there's our churches are struggling, every single one of us, and all these government initiatives, and we're hopeful that some of that could be a reprieve on some level. But there's always ways to be supportive of our church and ministry. And I'm always just really grateful for who you are, Robbie. How we come to know each other and our relationship, and just a genuine, awesome, kind. One of the nicest guys you ever meet is Robbie right here. And, there's, no pressures and stuff. And it's interesting because, my typical church services average maybe like 60, 70 people. But, the views I got on Easter was somewhere over the 1,000.
Oh, wow.
Over 1,000, not thousands. But just to say that there's 1,100 or over 1,000 people looking at it, I was like, wow, exactly. I think that's wow. Unusual. I don't have an audience usually like that, and I'm not looking for it, and if I have an opportunity and people appreciate my understanding of God and that relationship that, I've come to understand God, then it's all the merrier. We all like to share in that wisdom and help along the way. That's all all it is, really, helping each other along this journey.
Yeah. That's amazing, and you guys have an amazing church over there. It's very cool to hear that, like, you know, you get over 1,000 people viewing that Easter service. You know, we're still able to do some sort of video or anything like that. Got to give a shout to the music guy Felix, who's phenomenal over there.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to throw down the gauntlet right now because I have mentioned this to them, but officially on air here, we're going to say we have Gary over at Oakhurst United Methodist. I would love to see a dueling pianos between the two of them for some sort of charity or something like that. So we're saying it here first. We'll see if we can make it happen once the world reopens, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing how many really talented people are serving churches that way, you know?
Yeah.
And I know Oakhurst definitely has a wonderful pastor, so I think she's the greatest.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
An incredible musician, and I feel very blessed to have Felix before too. What a personality, and what a performer, and what a guy. And he's a great guy, you know, really.
Absolutely, yeah. Hey, Pastor Kim, thank you again for a few minutes. And before we get out of here, man, you got any, I guess, words of encouragement or any closing thoughts or anything like that?
Yeah, keep the faith, you know. Don't succumb to fear. It creeps in, and fear has a way of making us at our worst, I think, is the least common denominator. So I'm like, for my message is always, and that's not, I'm just reflecting what God is trying to say. God gives us tools during these times when we're suffering to lament. That's another, it was a great article written by New Testament scholar N.C. Wright, and I love what he had to say about that. He was on Time magazine recently, and saying, well, God laments with us. He's teaching us about how to lament. You know, there's no answer to why this is happening on some level. People want answers, but you know, where God is in terms of all our suffering, that's the, you know, that's the billion-dollar question, really. And that's something we'll never reconcile until we've come face to face with God ourselves, you know, that way. But just keep the faith, you know, and hang in there. Don't let fear be the guide. Let faith be the guide. You know, that's my thing. And let love be the fuel for that faith. You know.
Beautifully said.
That's what I think.
Beautifully.
Thank you, Rob.
No, that's great. That's why you're the guy who does this. That's awesome. Hey, Pastor Kim, thanks again for a few minutes, and hopefully, you know, there'll be brighter days ahead, and we'll be grabbing lunch somewhere and jamming sometime soon.
I look forward to those, for definitely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Robbie.
Anytime. All right, we'll do it again. Stay safe, all right?
You too. Take care.